Hi everyone, it's Carrie at the Racine Heritage Museum, and I am going to talk to you today about one of my favorite Racine history people, Olympia Brown. And today I am in the archives, which is a super fun place. We have tons and tons of information, we have pictures, we have 2D artifacts. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we have about Olympia Brown. I'll show you a few of the pictures and I'll tell you her story. So Olympia Brown was born in 1835, and she went to college, which was something that was a little bit uncommon for women in those days. She graduated from Antioch College in 1860, and then she went on to seminary school, another thing that was generally frowned upon for women. She went to St. Lawrence University and was ordained as a Universalist minister. There was a lot of opposition that she had to face to try to pursue that goal because, as I said, women generally were not recognized as ministers in those days. In fact, she is generally recognized as the first female ordained minister in America. And so she went into full-time ministry. In the 1870s, she moved here to Racine. She got married, and she kept her maiden name. That was another thing that was very unconventional for women in her time. Her husband was very supportive of her, however, and her mother took care of her children because she had to travel quite a bit with all the various things that she became involved in. Shortly after that, around the age of 53, she left full-time ministry and joined the suffrage movement. And I just think it's remarkable that she started that when she was 53 years old, because we have to think about the fact that in the 1870s, the average lifespan was somewhere between 35 and 40 years old. So for somebody to start a completely new career path at the age of 53 is pretty impressive. So she was president of the Wisconsin Women's Suffrage Association for 30 years, and did a lot of protesting, marches, speeches, traveling, things like that. She was also a very strong advocate for women's education, for the right of women to go to college. And I'll just show you one of the pictures that we have of her. This is probably one that you might be a little more familiar with if you know the Olympia Brown story. And so she went on several marches in the second half of her life. I'll show you some of these pictures when she was a little bit older. One of the things that impresses me the most about Olympia Brown is she was marching for women's suffrage in her 80s. So again, that was quite a ripe old age for her, for the things that she was doing. But it was very important for her. Between 1913 and 1919, she was still doing speeches, she was still marching, and she publicly burned one of Woodrow Wilson's speeches in front of the White House to protest his anti-suffrage stance. So she was very vocal against that. But thankfully, we all know Wisconsin was the first state to ratify the 19th Amendment. That happened on June 10th, 1919. And Olympia Brown voted in her first presidential election at the age of 85. And then in 1975, the Olympia Brown School was built and named after her, which I think is just really fitting considering that she was very much a proponent of education. So I just want to take a minute to show you a little bit of what we have here. I'm not going to go through all of these photos, but you can see we have many, many photos of Olympia Brown. Some are just duplicates, various sizes. This is one of my favorite ones of her. And then this is very special, and I'm not even going to move these because they're extremely fragile. But these are, I know the writing is reversed, but these are banners that would have been carried in a parade, and it says "Votes for Women." And these are very, very fragile, so I don't want to pick them up at all, but there are several of them here in this drawer. So these are over 100 years old. So that's just some of the treasures that we have here in the archives. A lot of people ask me questions when I go out and do programs, and sometimes I can answer them, sometimes I can't, but most of the time the answers are found here in the archives. And I know you can't see the entire room, but If you've never been down here, there are just stacks and stacks and stacks of information, lots of folders and books. We have all kinds of files and things. So, you know, you can spend a lot of time looking up information about whatever it is that relates to Racine that you're interested in down here. So once the museum opens up again, you can make an appointment to come into the archives. You can have Mary, our archivist, help you. And we really are proud and thankful of the great resource that we have here. So that's all I have for you today. Make sure you tune in on Monday. We're going to have another 6 Feet Apart with Chris and Allison. They are going to be looking at some really cool old cartoons. So check that out on Monday. And in the meantime, we hope that you keep following our page. Make sure to like the Racine Heritage Facebook page, to follow our YouTube page, and to also follow our Instagram page, and get your friends to do the same. It really helps out the mission that we're doing. So I hope that you learned something new today, and have a wonderful day.